Well, everyone knows real estate prices in San Diego are up, but everyone is also hearing about interest rates going up. Is now the time to FOMO into real estate? My good buddy Elvin Lantigua is here. How you doing, brother?
Everything good, man. How you doing, Doug?
Good to see you. So, FOMOing into real estate.
Yeah.
This is something that I think doesn't happen that much, although a lot of people want to get into real estate because the process, it's not like buying a stock. You know, you can't just go, oh, Tesla's up 20% today. Oh, I have to buy it. I need that upside.
House. No.
I want that upside so much. You can't. It's harder to FOMO because it's a formalized process. You know, It takes time. There's a lot of commitment. You have to sign a lot of paperwork. So it's harder to really to FOMO into real estate than it is to anything else. But I guess the equivalent of FOMOing into real estate would be to sort of just buying something, anything, just to get in.
Yeah.
You know, and that may happen here and there. So maybe we can talk today about like, you know, what you're seeing in the marketplace and, you know, what it looks like buying today versus maybe what we think it might look like in buying a year or 2 or 3 from now.
Right. Yeah, so when it comes to FOMO, there's 2 ways to look at it, right? Because there's a positive aspect to it and a negative. So if you're buying today, the question is it going to stay, right? Because in San Francisco it stayed, in LA it stayed, you know, and much love to both those cities, but one of them just a little bit more sunnier. That's San Diego, and I think that's what everybody's figuring out.
Yeah.
So it may not be a FOMO, it may be a long-term correction to what should have been the highest appreciating city in California.
Yeah.
So that fear in itself could be a false fear. It could be the FOMO of FOMO.
Yeah.
Inception FOMO now. So that is something that people are thinking. That's the one side. And then the second side is that, yes, there may be a correction coming, right? Not a crystal ball person here. But if a correction is to come, is that really something you want to wait for? Because the interest rates are probably going to be what created. So it's that classic example where I want to wait till there's some crash or correction. Okay, so you saved $100,000 on your home because everything came down $100,000, but everything also shot up to about 6%, 6.5%. Ultimately, when you look at your monthlies, they're more than if you would have just bought it when it was lower at the $100,000 higher rate. So, which is the best answer?
I like what you're spelling out here, which is basically, if you have a theory, then there's 2 things that you have to consider. Number 1 is, how do things look if you're right?
Yes.
And are they really that great? And how do things look if you're wrong? And how bad is that?
Yep.
And so that is probably the key, I think, to being you know, an investor in anything. The great thing about real estate is, and I hope this isn't breaking news, but you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to time it perfectly. You don't have to go to Harvard. You don't have to, you know, get lucky. You don't have to buy at the bottom. You don't have to do any of those things. All you need is time in the saddle. If you can get time in the saddle, you're going to win.
Yep.
And history's proven this to us throughout, from the very beginning of time. This has always been the case with real estate. And to me, that's a lot of security in that, because, you know, to be a good day trader, to be a good stock investor, to be a good entrepreneur, investor in businesses, a starter of businesses, those things, you need certain skill sets that if you do not have a combination of certain skill sets, you could be successful for a period of time and then you could fall flat on your face. Or you could just straight out the gates fall flat on your face.
Yep.
With real estate, because you get to live in the thing, it has a use case.
Yes.
It's not just investment. So, you know, you have a situation where you don't need to be anything other than just patient or anything other than just comfortable in the home that you have to win in the long run from an investment standpoint. So I like that part about it, because to go back to your thesis of, well, what if I am right and prices drop $100,000? What does that mean is going on around me? What does that mean is happening in the landscape of interest rates, of job market, of, you know, income for me and my self-employed business, et cetera? Is it really better for me in that situation? If I am wrong and prices don't go down, and this is what most people have been experiencing for the last, I'm going to say 5 years, I think 2017 is really when we had people getting bearish on real estate, kind of going, hey, it's gone too high, too fast. I remember 2018, we had the flash crash in the Dow Jones in February of 2018. A lot of people thought that was kind of the beginning to, okay, like housing correction is coming. We've had multiple huge up leg years since then. So imagine this. Imagine if you had that thought in 2018. After a flash crash, which is a reasonable thing to look at and go, hey, red flag. Now imagine you've been waiting to buy for 4 years.
Imagine waiting to buy for 2 years.
Or just 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to think about, well, what if I'm wrong? How much is it going to cost me versus how much is it going to make me if I'm right? And you have to weigh the risk reward there. Now that may be a complicated equation for a lot of people, and I understand that. But I really want you to think about this thing from a bigger picture perspective, because, if we are, and we don't know,
right.
what is next year going to bring from an appreciation or depreciation standpoint? What is the year after that going to bring? We don't know.
Here's what I tell my buyers, right? Because many of them aren't investors. A lot of them, 90% of them are VA. The other 10% are FHA, like first-time home buyers, regardless. And I only ask them, are you trying to sell next year? Are you trying to sell in 2 years? The real question is, can you currently, comfortably afford the monthly that you're going to receive from the purchase of this home? Regardless if it crashes, regardless, oh no, my house went down $300,000. Did that change, like, your monthly payments? Is everything still okay? Were you planning on getting this house gone in that year or two? No, but you still have your home. You didn't lose value in your home because you didn't sell the home. You're still in the home. And if I can just look back at the crash, 2008, anybody who held on to their home since then is now up.
Up big.
Up big.
Up really big.
And okay, you didn't get it at the bottom, but you still lived in your home if you were able to afford it at that time. And that's, I think, the biggest thing, because at that time, things weren't fixed. It was ballooned. So a lot of the many issues there were that you could afford it, and then one day you woke up and you couldn't afford it anymore. But if you're in a 30-year fixed, to the very end, you're going to afford it.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to look at. Okay, you got the fixed. Can you afford it? Are you going to lose your job anytime soon? Because that could be something you really do got to worry about. Job security. Then everything works.
Yeah. I have a good story to tell on that.
Yeah, go for
My
it.
buddy Lee, he bought in 2007, pretty much right at the peak.
Right.
Not the exact peak, but pretty much right at. He bought a 2-unit. He actually bought 2 of them. He bought two units in Barrio.
Wow.
And back then, Barrio isn't what it is today.
Right.
But he took care of his properties. He kept them through he bought them with no money down. No money down. Back when anyone could do that.
Yeah.
And he kept them all the way up. He just sold one of them. He still lives in one of them. He rents out the other side. He just sold one of them, made almost $700,000 in profit, which he's 1031ing and buying a 24 unit in Chicago.
Wow.
24 unit. That is the down payment, and he's going to cash flow massively. And he tells the story as, hey, I turned $13,000 in bar mitzvah money into a 24 unit complex in Chicago. And so he's the perfect example of someone who didn't let the market dictate what his strategy was. Exactly. His strategy was long-term, hold, tax advantages, appreciation will come, take care of my properties, have good tenants. That's all he did. Basics. He didn't do anything. The only genius in what he did was that he didn't listen to the market when everyone was saying real estate's bad, you got to get out, it's all going to hell. He didn't listen to anyone. He just stuck to his guns. And I think he's making a great decision right now to go ahead and do what the plan was the whole time, which was to parlay one of these properties into a bigger multi-unit property in the Midwest. And he's making it happen right now. He's in escrow right now. So it's like golf clap. You know what I mean?
There it is.
Dude, bro, you did it exactly right. Now this is the guy, and the reason I bring it up is because this is the guy who bought at the absolute worst time. A time when, things went very, very bad. For multiple years, they were very, very bad shortly after he purchased. And he's going to come out smelling like a rose, only because he's stuck in the game. So we do not have, I'm going to be very clear about this, we do not have the situation right now that we did back then, We are nowhere near or even close. No one should even be talking about a crash or anything like that. It's really, really kind of absurd. But the reason why I don't fight it or I don't talk trash about it is because as long as people are talking about a crash, it makes it much less likely that it can happen.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we had a crash last time is because no one thought it was possible.
Yeah.
It was not a consideration. Not even by the banks. The banks were giving out 125% cash out second mortgages.
You didn't need anything.
Yeah, but banks don't even do second mortgages anymore.
You better work for Craigslist then. Yeah, go ahead. Here you go. Take 2 houses. Missed those days, sort of, but hey, we got to adjust now.
Exactly. And the adjustment is already built into the market. Houses are in strong hands now.
Yep.
Houses are in the hands of people who've put money down.
Yep.
Houses are in the hands of people who've fully qualified for
Yep.
it. And so it's not the same situation that we were in. So we really shouldn't be talking about a crash, but go ahead and let people talk about it if they're going to, because it's not a bad thing to have people talking about it.
Uh-huh.
It's just don't let that disrupt you from achieving your goals, from doing what you want to do, from following your plan to hedge your housing costs, to have tax advantages, to build equity, and to have principal being paid down in the monthly payment that you're spending.
Yep.
Those are the things that you get with real estate. Those things are not going to change. Those things are guaranteed to you. So, except for appreciation, sometimes appreciation depends on when you sell, right? But tax advantages and principal pay down are happening for sure. So don't let, my biggest piece of advice is just don't let other people make these decisions for you.
Exactly.
You've got to make your plan and stick to it.
Yep. And even for those that do want to wait, I'll even give what advice that I can for those that do want to wait. If you're going to wait, all right, yes, let it bottom out. And maybe you want to get, when it bottoms out, you're going to get a higher interest rate, and that's when you buy. The positive for you is that they can't stay high forever. Now your plan is still going to be long term, because now you're going to have to wait for the interest rate to come back down. And at that time, then you can talk to Derek and refi.
Yeah.
And when that happens, yes, in truth, you spent $100,000 less, but that's actually, you're going to spend long term. It'll take a lot longer to pay off $100,000 than it would for the interest rates theoretically to come back down and you to refi. But understand that you'll be paying cash up front when you buy it, and another cash later on when it does refi. So if you can figure out those numbers, maybe waiting is right for you. And again, it's so far ahead, you are making a bit of a prediction, but that could be a strategy for you that do plan to wait. You're going to have to hope that interest rates are high, a good bottom correction does happen so you can purchase low, and then you're going to have to pay that higher payment or equal payment until the interest rates come at a place where it's smart for you to refi.
Let me speak to that same person, because if you are going to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to wait, it's too frothy for me, I really think prices are going to go down, okay. That's okay. It's okay. You're an adult. You're going to make your own decision. You're putting your money where your mouth is. I totally get it. Here's my biggest piece of advice. Make sure you have a contingency plan for what if I'm wrong.
Yep.
So determine how action in the market is going to help you understand whether you were right or wrong about this. And if you are wrong, then what? So for example, my prediction is houses go down by $100,000 on average. Okay. Well, what if it's a year from now and that hasn't happened yet? And prices are still about the same, but interest rates are going up. At what point do you say, you know what, I was wrong? You need to predetermine that. You can't try to do it on the fly, because on the fly we'll always try to lean towards, well, I want to be right, so I want to keep waiting for me to be right. Make sure you predetermine when the market has told you that you're wrong and know what your action steps are from there, whatever that might be. Because the consequence could be that you go from, let's say, being able to buy a single family to now having to buy a townhome, or you go from being able to buy in this neighborhood and now you have to buy in this neighborhood. That may be your consequence. So
move out of state, I think it's going to be the realest consequence.
Or that is for a lot of people.
And if you're that person, maybe that is something, because the truth is you can't get everybody to understand the value of purchasing now, because if we can, they would have purchased a year or two ago.
Right.
And so for that person, I think that's great advice. And that consequence, if you are going to be that person, may be like a plan B, C, or D, plan D being, hey, if you like Texas or Florida, or just somewhere where the market is still at an affordable rate, you may have to be open to that idea, because if not, then you just continue to rent, if that's your point right now, and there's 100% interest in that one.
Yeah.
And you're just paying somebody else's off, so.
Yeah. Terrific point. Elvin, thanks so much for coming in, man. It's great to see you. Appreciate your
See you
time
again, man.
and your advice. Guys, hey, share this video with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone.